Masechta Makos Daf Chof Aleph Amud Aleph. We're starting from the second line from the top. Oma Shmuel. Sagt die Gemara Oma Shmuel. Shmuel hat gesagt. Shmuel said, "Hamasarit bekli chayev." Somebody who makes a cut on himself with a keli, with whatever it is that he uses. A lot of people use then the swords with spears, whatever. He's chayev. But he does it because of the tsar of a mace. It's like you want a mace. In fact, you want a akasha srik. So 1 minute. So what do we see from here? Kli is part of the pasuk of Viseret LaNefesh Leisitnu V'V'Sarchem, and it's also part of Leit Hizgayah. Leit Hizgayah is with a kli. So whether you're doing with a kli or whether you're doing with your hand and making it's the same thing. And there's two psukim saying on the same. Two lavim that speak about the same idea of wounding yourself. One is Viseret LaNefesh Leisitnu V'Sarchem, and the other one is Leisitnu. So either one, you're going to be chai for two lavim because they're two psukim. We say it's the same. Doesn't make a difference if it's bikli or if it's Nishking says so. Zwei ein is mitakli and ein is, but they're both called seret. Huh? He's massive. You're not allowed to make a wound, no matter how. Whether your hand or kli, it's the same. You don't make a wound for the tzafar mace. Yeah. So for your tzad, a person who has tzafar mace. No difference how you do it. But there are two psukim that talk about it. So you have two lavim. Mace, in fact, akasha, two lavim. Situ gdid achasi. It says it's take one inyan for. It's for the purpose for a mace. And he says it's two separate isunim. It's if you do biyad, you only over on Viseret LaNefesh Leisitnu. If you do it with a kli, it's only mitzad Leisitnu. So you have a stida to Shmuel who says it's two isunim. It's not the same thing, and Shmuel said it is, and Yechai for two. And Shmuel who the Amar Rab Yosi. Shmuel holds like Rab Yosi, who says both psukim attack a warning about one thing, and it's two psukim. He says it's two psukim, and they're both the same thing. It's not that one pasuk refers to a kli and one. It's two separate isurim. It's the same issue because they're both under the gather of seret, and like this guy, if somebody does with a kli, he's also chayv mishum seret. Tana says there was a Amida who was bucking the Braises who learned later. Kamed Rabbi Yochanan was learning before Rabbi Yochanan, and he said like this: somebody who makes a chabura in his basa, for what purpose? Al mace, because he was sad and he was mourning over a mace. Bein biyad, bein bekli. Whether he did it with his hand or with a kli, chayiv is chayiv malchus. So you see, the Torah asked side biyad, side b'gdida, no difference. But if somebody makes hakura alavitz yichab, he says, so the brisa continues. If somebody, this is an additional brisa, nothing. Right. So this is a new brisa that he talks about. Somebody who made a chabura in his basa al avitz yichab, because it was the derech to serve the avitz yichab that way. They would cut themselves for avitz yichab. The truth is, the Shiite with the other, I don't know what they call them, but the Shiite and who's the other in the Arab? There's two Sunni and Shiites. One does with cutting; they cut themselves. Anyway, the sign of having is other. Yeah, the yad chayiv. He then is chayiv Mrs. Wesner if somebody cuts himself because that's the aveda. So and bekli potter because it's not the way it was done by wounding themselves with a hand, with their physical hand, not with a keli. So if they did it with a keli, then they wouldn't be chayiv nisa because it wasn't the derech aveda of aveda zara. In fact, what are you talking about? We learned just the opposite. The way the derech was for aveda zara was dafka b'takli. It says by yizgeilu kimishpato. They would cut themselves like their minik. That's what kimishpato means. Kimin hagam. Bacharovis with shverden, with swords, uvarmachim, and with spears. So you see, it's befeidish. The derech aveda was with kalim. Says you're right. Ela rather say the reverse. That the way beyad is potter because it's not the derech with kli chay. And with the Kli, you're going to be Chai Misa. Same, exact same thing, yes. Yeah, but here was through cutting himself. Versus Balpeh was on Yemachta. Says Gemara B'Chayiv. We learned in the Hemshech of the Mishnah, is Chayiv al HaKav Sareish. That we said that Kav Sareish is the part that the skull connects with the face. So where is that? Over here, the temple. Even if you should know, when somebody takes a haircut, right, and he shaves here and he leaves a little bit here, even shaving here, he's chayiv because you're not allowed to touch it. You have to leave the hair grow. This area has to be. You're not allowed to shave it off. You can make it thinner, but you can't have a little bit. You want to thin the payas, so you're going to shave here, right? And the payas will be thin, matanished. That's not Easter. Okay, anyways, up to the Gemara. So Machli Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes wanted to show his Talmidim where's the place of the payas. He said Ben Pikei Reisha, like I just said, between the skull and the face. So that's it. This is the temple. This is the place where it connects. Zakti Gemara B'Hal Zakim. When it comes to the beard, Shtayim Mekan. Two. Here's a machlekes. No, the two. That's the fifth one. But where does it start? Others say it starts here. Others say it starts here and it ends here. Others say it starts here and ends here. But that's why you're not allowed to touch anywhere on the face. There's so many different shitas.
Whenever you touch
you have a problem. So he says two on this side, and then here's the one that connects the both jaws together. That's the fifth one. So he says Shtayim Mekan. Yeah, that's our zweite Sache. Das ist that's called Sedov, like we said, Al Aroish. Now we're talking about Zakin is here. All these, there's two and one. So Al Zakin Mekan, Al Zakin Shtayim, Mekan, Shtayim Mekan, two from each side, V'achs Melamata, and one in the center right here. Machli Rav Sheshes showed them that the Makim of the Pes HaZakin, and he showed with his finger, by Pirkei the Dikna, that the two, with the two bones connect, that's here, that's the center, where the two cheekbones connect. Even the Tola.
But if you had a very thick beard, how could people be able to see
No,
where
if you cut the beard.
Oh,
so you could always point. Yeah, okay. Elazar argues on the Tanakama. He says, even the Tola, if he shaved off the pace of the Zakana, but he did it all at once, and he's only going to be chayiv one set of malchus. He says it's only one aveda, and therefore you don't get for 5, you get for 1. Malchus for 1. And one is not chayiv on destroying the pace. Actually, it's betar. That's we're talking about the pace of the beard. That is only if it's done with something that's destructive, that goes to the roots. So if you want to turn about your land, the tzaddik tzaddik you have over here, because of shafili megaleach samach labasa kein tar gam kein hadava muta. He says it's also muta. The tzaddik tzaddik. If you do with a razor.
But it's not all the way to the skin. You mean
Umehem kasvu shemikom ma'akemidas chsidis shaloi lasis came mishumar sa'ayim. That's what he says. Some of the basel came time. He says, anyway, so he says, anyway, over here it says, and Yachal Dilchim Misparayim. I would have thought even if he cuts the beard with scissors, he should be Chayv Malkes, because it's called Diluach. That's why it says by Yisrael, it says, Allah Shem Lo Yisashchis as Pa'azah Kancha. So it has to be a Derech HaShchasa. Okay, so we learn out with Gzeira Shava. No, it's not. Ashchas means that it goes very close to the skin, to the flesh. So now, because one pasuk of Lo Yigalechu is referring to the Kahanim. Pasuk on Lo Yigalechu is by the Kahanim. And then it says, Lo Yisashchis es Pa'as Zekanecha, that's by Yisrael. So we learn out with Gzeira Shava, it says Pa'as by Koyen and Pa'as by Yisrael, to tell us, just like by Yisrael, it says Loisashchis has to be Derech HaShchasa, so too by Kahanim only it's also Derech HaShchasa.
But here it doesn't say Loisashchis, right?
No.
It says only Yolechu.
We learn out with Exeter Pias that it's that scissors mutter even by Kahanim. Like you want to eat lois hashchis as a kanecha, and if it only say lois hashchis, I would have thought in liktim and malak would hit me even if he pulled out the beard with a tweezer or with a plane, that you saw you smooth out piece of wood. Yeah, I would have thought he's chayv. Lo yigal leichu comes the pasuk to tell us that it excludes if you use a malaket or a hitni, which is not called giluach. No, that you're allowed. I would have thought it would be ichvod yemein as lois, because it is derech hashchasa. But he's coming to tell you that he's not going to be chayiv because it has to be derech giluach also. You need two tanoim. One, it should be in order to be us a derech hashchasa. It's a derech hashchasa and derech giluach. It's the normal way to shave. But you don't take the piece that you go with the wood and you go on your beard like that. It's kuklis nish normal. It's nish derech giluach. So that's why it's mutter. So your mother, the Raisa, it makes a sikul. Since we learned that you're not chayiv al shchosas hazake, and we also you're not chayiv on giluch hazake, and her what does that mean? So how could it be? You're saying you're not chayiv only if it's destructive, and then you also learn that you're not chayiv only if you shave your beard. Which one is it? Okay, so he says giluch sheish b'yashchasa. It has to be derech giluach, which also has hashchasa. Which is the case that's going to be fit the two tanoyim. A razor raises the derech to shave, and it's also derech hashchasa. That's going to be also. He says even if he does it with a tweezer or with which is not derech giluach, you're chayiv. Where's he come up that you're going to be chayiv? If you're learning with a gzeir shava, libayit tar. So then only giluch with tar dafke should be aser. But if it's b'malak or hitni, which is not derech giluach, it should be potter. And it's possible not to learn a gzeir shava. It has to be a meseda. We know a person cannot be a dan a gzeir shava on its own. So he can say, I wasn't a kabbalah from my teacher. So, and you can't demand learn the Gzeir Shava. Gzeir Shava has to come mit Rabbi Seinu. So he says, if he didn't learn the Gzeir Shava, so then B'misparayim nami loy. B'misparayim even with a scissors should be forbidden because it says lo yigalechu. Galechu means anything. It says and it doesn't mean dafke derech hashchasa. You're not allowed to shave at all. And you want to learn them gam Gzeir Shava. Really, we learn out Gzeir Shava. You're going to ask me if we're learning Gzeir Shava, why would he say b'melakit or hittin should be chayiv? It's not derech giluach. It should be it's excluded. We said you need the two tnaim. If you learn the Gzeir Shava, you need the tnai side that should be derech hashchasa, and it has to be a derech, the way that a normal person shaves. And a tweezer and a plane is not the normal way. So why did he say he's chayiv if it's not the normal way? Because he says no, it is a tweezer. People do use tweezers to pull out the beard, and people do use the planes to use it to cut the beard. Somebody who Zok the Mishnah, somebody who makes a tattoo. So a tattoo in those days was what they do. They would mark the place where they want to make the picture, and then they cut the skin and then drop ink. Today they're much more sophisticated. They have these needles that they cut into the skin, and it also does with ink. So they do it simultaneously. It's computerized, and the needle itself shoots while it's cutting the thing. It's putting in ink. Huh? So they cut the skin and then they dropped in the dye. So he says like this: somebody who writes, makes a tattoo. Let's say he wrote on the oil with ink or with kind of a dye, but he didn't cut into the flesh. The only way that it can last if it cuts into the flesh, but he didn't cut into the flesh. So he says oikaka, or he put this, he made a cut, right? But below kasav, he didn't write anything in it. He didn't put in any ink. And the chayv is not chayv malchus. He made a cut. Ad sheyichtek, till he writes vikakeya, and then he cuts into the flesh, so the ink goes in. That remains forever. with yoyu b'kchel, with the ink or with the makeup that they use, the blue makeup that they use for their eyes, the women. So b'chol davar shu reishim, or anything that leaves a reishim that doesn't get erased. Rav Shimon ben Yehuda mishum Rav Shimon Haim Chai Bat Sheyichtav Sham Es Hashem. And we're soon going to understand what it means Hashem. He's not going to be Chai only if he writes the shame of Avodah Zarah. We're soon going to say Shanema, like it says in the pasuk, Sevis Kakal Eisit Lachem. You shouldn't make this tattoo on you, Ani Hashem, because I'm Hashem. And David's referring to that they wrote a shame of Avodah Zarah on themselves.
So it says Ani Hashem.
On the you see Shaila on the arms, picture of Shaila of the Rebbe they have on the foot. You see all kinds of different people. The Rebbe about yeah, manch haben das getan. Nicht Malchus. That's not Malchus. Aber Rabach bringt der Ovel Rabashi. Rabach bringt der Ovel gesagt zu Rabashi. It said to Rabashi, is the Kavanah of Rav Shimon Yehuda that he's not Chaim Malchus ad the Yichtav Ani Hashem Mamish? Doesn't mean he's not going to be Chaim Malchus until he writes the words Ani Hashem. Amalei Rabashi said, Loi, the Tani Rabban Bar Kavanah, it's like Bar Kavanah had learned. Ain't Chaim. It's not Chaim Malchus ad Sheyichtav Shem Avin Zichavim. Till he writes the name of Avodah Zarah. Shenelo Ksev's Kakam Leisim Lechavani Hashem. Like it says in the pasuk that a tattoo should not be written in them because I am Hashem. That's the pasuk. Don't write in your flesh a tattoo which is the name of Avodah Zarah because Ani Hashem nobody else. A regular tattoo. According to this opinion, it seems that that only is writing shame of Avodah Zarah. It's for a burden for a person to take the ash from that came out of an oven, and Gabi Makos in order to put it on a market to heal it. They would take ash, and people had wounds, so they would put it on, and it would heal the wound. Why did they ask it? Why did Malkia ask it? Because it looks like putting a tattoo. Because it remains there forever. When you put it in the cut, in the wound, and you put in the ash, it'll stay that way. The black will be in it. He says that there are the three dinim that Rab Malkia said, there are two names which are very similar. Rab Malkia with an aleph and Rab Malkiyoi with a vav. So Rab Nachman said there's shapud. Shapud is a spit that they used for to roast those spits. So once you finish the barbecue, it's disgusting. So now you're talking about on to move it on Yom Tov. He says you're allowed to move it by holding the middle of the stick and move it to the side to remove it from the place that you need it. But that's one thing.
Because it comes muktzah.
It's muktzah. Yeah, it's disgusting. Shvachis. There's a different shvachis. Even if you bought 100 shvachis and they took care of business, the wife would have to work. Why? According to Rav Malkiel. Because Rav Malkiel said, what could happen if you don't give her anything to do? The batola that she's not going to have anything to do, Mavila de Zima will bring her to Znus. So that's why you got to keep her busy. You got to be something. You got to keep and then you have a gumais. You have a woman when she become an adult, when she shows sinus, money. If she has just paws, the lechas, and you don't see the sinus, so we say, as long as she has gumais, the paws, we say the sinus fell out, she is an adult. These are the words of Rab Malkiyoi, with a vav. The Lodius says that the Goyim would have Avodah Zarah, they would leave a ponytail in the middle of the head. I'm sure today they have, I don't know what they call these Indians or whatever, they had it in the middle of the head. So it says you're not allowed to, Yid, who's a barber, shouldn't get close to it with 3 heads placed all around. You shouldn't start shaving around it. Because that's Shem Avodah Zarah that they do it. 8 for Mikla, like we said, that you shouldn't use the ash of an oven to heal the wound. Ugivina, and the cheese that was made by the Goyim, is forbidden because they would put on top of it, it says they would, to protect it, fats from chaza. So who said that? Rab Malkiyah with an aleph. Rab Papa, no, Rab Papa says, I argue. Who said what? He says, Masnisa Masnita Rab Malkiyah. When it's a Mishnah, the Braisa, that's Rab Malkiyah. Shmaitza, Remember, that was connected with halacha. That's Rab Malki Yoy. B'simanach, what's going to be the sim? Without both. B'simanach, what's this sim going to be? Masnisa Malkisa. Because Malkiya is on Lashon Nekeva. Masnisa is Lashon Nekeva. So anything that has to do with a Mishnah, it was said by Malkiya, by the one that sounds like Nekeva. And those sugyas that were said in the gate halachis, that's Malkiya. What's the chilik if you learn like Rav Nachman or you learn like Papa? Is there chilik? He says, yeah, Ikvenai Shvachis by the Mishnah of Shvachis. Remember with the 100 maids that she still has to work. We said who did Rav Nachman say said that Rav Malkiya. But if it's a Mishnah, it wasn't Rav Malkiya, it was Rav Malkiya. That's going to be the chilik. Okay, so Habib Rabaya copied. Was makpid not to place the ash from an oven, the kusilta. Even on the place where they would let out blood, they would puncture, a little puncture. Like that cousin, they wouldn't allow to put the ape of oven. Rashi says, you could, he was mated to put ape from milk wherever there was a wound. Why? Because Makos, there's always a relation that there was a makkah. So what's the big deal? He put there. Everybody knows it was for the four. It wasn't made for a tattoo. Yeah. Zak the Mishnah, Nazir Shahaya Shesi Yain Kol Hayom. A Nazir is not allowed to drink wine, and he was drinking wine all day. And they only warned him once. Ein Chayv Alachas. He's going to be only Chayv Malkis for the drink that he had right next to the Asra. Amrulay, they told the Nazir before every time he drinks, Al Tishta. Oh, good. He's always drinking. He's drinking. Al Tishta. I shouldn't drink. By Yadamol that he was warned. He's a Ushaisa and he drinks. He's Chai for every drink that he had after that. Yeah, but this is the Mishnah. Before it was in the Gemara. So too, Haya Metamel Mason. If he was being Metamel Mason Kol Hayayin, okay, he was being Metamel Mason. He's not allowed to be Metamel himself to Mason. So what did he do? A Nazi. He's not allowed to be. Yeah. And they only warned him once. He's only chayv once for the time that he was matama himself right next to Asra. Amru loy altitama. They told him, don't be matama yourself. It's chmayt matama. And they told him for each time, vu matama. He goes back. He shouldn't. He's not allowed to do. He's going against for every tumah. It's the mice. Correct. Yeah. For each Asra. So too, he's shaving. He's shaving more and more, and so he's chayiv alacha. Ain't chayiv alacha. It's still going to be chayiv. The first shave right next to the warning. But if they told the Nazar, al tegalach, every time on a gate, and he's shaving his head.
The same thing
in different din. He wants to tell you every din is going to have the same. It's going to be. For every asar, the same. On each giluach. If he's wearing a baguette that was made of wool and linen, all day, he's only going to be chayv once. He tells him, no, he takes it off. They warn him and he puts it back on. For each asar. Yes, there is that somebody could plow one row in a field, and it'll be chayv on it for 8 separate lavin. Somebody who plows a shever hamer together, and it says lo yisachlish the shever hamer yachol. The hein mukdashim, and it's a becheir. It's either it's a becheir, so you chayv for both, right? Now we know by chamer there's no becheir really, so he means according to other mefarshim. We learn a machlokes in the Rishonim. So according to those that say that there's no din of becheir by chamer, so we'll learn it says I mean it's not a chamer. Kalayim bekerem, and then you have kalayim bekerem that they in the sada you had a kernel of from grapes. I don't know if you call it a kernel. What do you call the grapes? The pits of the grapes, the seed of the grape, and you had a kernel of tfuah, and it was together, and he plowed over it, and the earth went over it, By the mere fact that the earth went over it, in Chai Mishum Kalayim. It says Lo Siza Kamacha Kalayim. Yeah, and here he did two. He did the seed of a grape together with a kernel of Tvua, and he put the Charisha has to be a couple of feet away, and if there's a wall, well, okay, Lo Siza Kamacha Kalayim. He shouldn't do Kalayim. He shouldn't plant Kalayim. Mashvias, and if it was the year of Shemitah, and it was over on that. It says about Shana Hashvi, Sadch Leisiza. You feel you shouldn't plant, and here he's planting in the year of Shvius. The Yom Tov, Avtzalachas, yeah. The Yom Tov, and he did a Charisha by Yom Tov. So he's over because it says Kol Melach Savei Leisasu, including Charisha, the Kohen, and the Nazir. Both are going to be over. He was a Kohen and a Nazir. And he went into a cemetery, the Veis HaTumah. So now he's a Chayiv Simon Tzad. Kohen, it says Lenefesh Lo Yutam B'Yamov, and by a Nazir it says Al Nefesh Lo Yaveh. So he's Chayiv Simon Tzad Kohen, Simon Tzad Nazir. So the Gemara Chananya ben Chachinoi Yoima, that you can add more Malchus. Even somebody who wears, while he's doing this, he's wearing clothing that's Kalayim. On each, yeah, and he's going to be chai for all of them. Nazir, all of them, and he's wearing kilayim. What does that have to do? Here we're talking about in the plowing. In one action, he's chayim. Here you tell me because he was wearing kilayim. Has nothing to do with the plowing. Really? You're counting only in the mice of charisha? So af nazir loy. A Nazir going into the Tumah, into the Beis HaKvaris, it has nothing to do with Charisha and the Kohen either. Yeah. Amar Abibi, Amar Rabbi Yosef. Abibi said in the name of Rabbi Yosef. Poishet v'leivish, leivish mamish? Oh yeah, afilu machnas meisi beis yad in kalish halay. What does it mean? He takes off. Could it mean just he takes off one sleeve? And then he puts it back in, or he has to take off the whole jacket and then he puts it on. So it means literally taking off the whole jacket and then putting it on. Even if he didn't take off the begadim, he didn't take it off. But it was on him for the time to take it off and put it back on, and he was warned, take it off. And he keeps it on for the time that he could have taken it off and put it back on. He's going to be chayiv. He's chayiv again, even though he didn't actually take it off. Yes, chodesh betelem. There's charisha by Asad, and he's chayiv because of 8 lav. That's what we said. Telem means on a row, on a hill. If he plows, we just had in the Mishnah that you're chayiv for all these lav, for 8 lav. So the Omer Rav Yanai Bachabuda, that when the Chachamim got together, Nimnu, they voted, V'gamru, and they paskined, Sha'achiv b'kalayim, somebody who covers over with earth, over a seed from a grape, with a kernel of a toy, just by covering it over with earth, it's already climbed. What are you coming to tell us in Chiddush? We made a vote. It's a Mishnah, we finished the Mishnah. Yes, Chiddush tell Machot. We said through Charisha, which Charisha covers over, you said and then what was the last one? The Kilayim Bekerem. So you see, it was Kilayim just through Charisha, that it just threw the earth over it.
Even though it didn't start growing yet.
Right, no, it just covered over this kernel with the and the seed, yeah. So you see the Charisha was just covering the earth. 1 minute. How was he even Kalayim? Only because the Charisha came and pushed the sand over it. So you see, covering the earth over, putting earth over the kernel and the seed of the grape is already Kalayim. Amalei, it's so funny, he says. If I wouldn't have picked up the shard, wouldn't you think you would have found the pearl, the diamond? Because I picked it up, you figured it out. Why? Because I could have interpreted that there's a sheet in Rabbi Akiva that says that kiyum, just letting Kalayim be together, you're already over. It has nothing to do with Harisha coming with sand. Who says Harisha is an Indian of making Kalayim? Maybe just it's called kiyum. So by Kim, there's a machloikis, Kim Kalayim. So he says, no, here, everybody agrees it's mamish making Kalayim, by Harish, by covering with earth. Amalei Yishlakish Rav Yochanan. Yishlakish said to Rav Yochanan, he loved the kills Hagavra Rabbah. If not for Rav Yanai praising you, Rav Yochanan, Hava Amina, I would have thought to say, Masnisan Al Mishnah, Mani is, who is it following Rabbi Akiva? It's only going according to one opinion. I would have said, but now that Rabbi Yanai praised Rabbi Yochanan, that said that the Rabbi Yochanan was mechadish, that everybody agrees by just pouring earth over the seed of nodim, of the grapes, together with a kernel of wheat, just by covering with earth, everybody agrees that's Kalayim. There's no machlekes. Mekayim is a different Indian, and there is a machlekes. Thank you. What am I, Rabbi Akiva? Where do we find that Rabbi Akiva says for Mekayim just allowing the Kalayim to be together? Yechayev. The Tanya that we learned in the Baraisa, Hamenaki, somebody who weeds out the bad weeds in order to grow better. Or somebody who covers with earth over the Kalayim, like he gets Malchus. Rabbi Akiva says, not only these that make the earth better, just the mere fact that it's there together, you're already chayiv. You have a finish, yeah. In fact, one of my time there, Rabbi Akiva, what's the reason of Rabbi Akiva that he says just by kiyum it's enough? Because the time we learned in Raisa, it's written in the Torah, Sadcha loy siza kiloi. It says you feel you shouldn't plant kilayim. Ainli ela zereya mekayim v'nayim. We only know actually planting kilayim is us. How do you know? Just letting it exist, it's a yechayiv. Tamalema. It says behem techa loy sabiya kilayim, and then it says sadcha loy siza kilayim. So you find that the word kilayim from behem techa loy sabiya, it says kilayim, and then it says sadcha loy. So we connected with the previous word like kilayim, that kilayim sadcha loy, which means that it's forbidden to have the chlal kilayim. Amalei Ula Rav Nachman. Ula said to Rav Nachman, "V'lil kinami mishum zerei b'yomtiv." Let him get malchus for planting on Yom Tov. So it's additional Isur. It's Yom Tov. And we didn't say that. No, a separate malchus for Yom Tov. Hari should be Yom Tov. He should be chayiv for it. Says the Gemara, Amalei Tanavishia. He learned, but he left out that malchus. What are you talking about? Amalei Ula said to Rav Nachman, "Tana ketana shmeina." Our Tana learned Befedish 8. So if you learn Befedish 8, that's a number that you're specific about. And you're going to say he left out. Rabbi said a different Piddish. Yes, chilik malachs b'Shabbos, and chilik malachs b'Yom Tov. When it comes to Shabbos, we know that the Torah said lo yisasakom malacha, right? And then the Torah singled out lo yisavado eish. Why didn't the Torah single out lo yisavado eish? It's included in lo yisasakom malacha. So one Shaita told us lelav yotzes, lelchalak yotzes, that if he did a whole bunch of malachs together, Behelam Echad, not knowing that it was Shabbos, and he did Behelam, he's going to be chai for each and every one. Then there was a man that said, "Oh, the reason why you took it singled out like Smaru Eish was Lilav Yotzes. It doesn't have the same punishment as all the other malachas. Just a love." So, but he also learns out Lechalak Yotzes from. It says the Asma Aks Mahina. So even according to that sheet, he says that if you do Behelam Echad, you're going to be chai for each and every one. But that's only by Shabbos. By Shabbos we have a special pasuk that the Torah singled out like Smaru Eish, but not by Yom Tov. So by Yom Tov you're not going to be chai for all the malachas. By Yom Tov you're going to be chai for each and every. You're going to be chai for one malacha, not for each and every one. The only time that you're going to be chai for each and every one is only Shabbos. He says Taken. That should be the answer to the words of Rabbi Yanai. That even though he was chayfa, meaning he was zeireya, nevertheless, if he does it on Shabbos, on Yom Tov, he's only going to get one set of malchus and you're not going to make different malachas. We said it'll be chayiv for Yom Tov for one malacha, but not anymore. Eisvei Abaya is the kasha. Ve'in chilik malachas be Yom Tov. You're going to say on Yom Tov, you're not going to say that it's chayiv for each and every one. But now we learned in the Mishnah, Mavashel di b'chalav b'Yom Tov. Somebody who cooks the gid anesha. He cooks it in the milk on Yom Tov, and he eats it like a chamesh. He gets 5 sets of malchus. Zakt you mother like mishumeichel gid. He gets put in a cup. Like mishumeichel gid. He gets malchus for eating the gid anesha. Because he was able, Alkein lo yeichel b'nei Yisrael gid anesha, but loiken he gets malchus mishum b'ashim b'yam to shalei l'tzayah, because he can't eat the gid anesha, and he's cooking the gid anesha in the challah. Anosha. So it's he's eating the gid anesha, which is shalei l'tzayah. He can't eat it, so he's cooking. So he's chayv a second isur. The loiken is chayv malchus for it. The loiken mishum b'ashim gid b'challah, and he's going to be get malchus for basar b'challah. And then because it says lois mashim gdi b'chalevi, the loiken he gets also mishum oichel basar b'challah for eating basar b'challah. We also learn now from that same pasuk. The loiken he gets a 5th malchus mishum hav'ora because of the lighting a fire on Yom Tov. In fact, the mother he means loismaru, but you're already chayiv for bishul. Why should you be chayiv on the second one for hav'ora? You're already chayiv on Yom Tov for that. Even if they say you're not chayiv an additional malchus for havaras heish, right? No, you chayiv like mishum mishulei. You already were chayiv. You already were chayiv malchus for cooking the kid the Yom Tov. And the Gemara, you're right. Apik havara, take out the isa of havara. And ayo gid hanesha shel nevela. Say it was a gid hanesha of the nevela that he ate. And it says, "Loiseichlu kol nevela." That was the 5th iser. But Rabbi Chia said, "Leikishtaim alachilas." There's only 2 isurim alachilas, and you're saying it was nevela. It's going to be 3 isurim. Bishul shall be shulei, and there's 3 for bishul. You said bishul bas b'chalav, bishul b'yom tov, shalei l'tzed chayim, and then havaras heish is shalei l'tzed chayim. And here you're coming shalosh alachilas chayim. How could it be? He says, take out havara. But ayol atzei ashera, put in atzei ashera. That it says that it's eitz, which is avodah zara, which is asmana, and that's what he was saying. Lasahara say mahacha, and the lav is said in the Torah v'lo yitbak b'yotcha me'uma min hacherim. It means that he's going to be chayiv for the isa enough from atzei ashera, because he had enough from atzei ashera. And now you're going to have only 2 lavim for the achila and 3 for fire. The little kid nami mishum leisoilbi say eva beisacha. If it's asheda, he's eva an additional iser. He brought a asheda. It's a tayeva by al beisacha tavanish. You're not allowed to bring it into your house. My skin over here. It's talking about if you're going to shemish without saying and the ashara is from here. Tisu from Meish. The only ones that you should burn is the Hashem, the holds from the Asherah. That you have to get rid of, you have to burn. But when it comes to the eights, it's Avodah Zarah. But eights from Hegdish, that you shouldn't. It says Paket, you shouldn't, and here he burnt it. That's the extra he said.